everyone, I'm Ian McCarthy of Lifting for Life and No Bullshit Bodybuilding, and this is the Lifting for Life Q&A series where I answered your questions on video. Today's question comes from Patrick Humphrey, who says, I would love to hear your general thoughts on meditation. Can you describe what it is you actually do when you meditate? And can you describe the benefits you perceive from it? Do you think meditation is something you would describe as generally useful for most people? I'm being somewhat vague intentionally here, of course. So I think there are three questions here. First, what it is one actually does when they meditate. And I would preface this by saying that I think I'm very, very far away from being an expert in meditation. It's something that I've been doing only this year. I think I started in May, so again, not even on the planet of being in the neighborhood of being an expert in it. But it is something that I've done very consistently in that period, and I'm not sure how helpful it would be to speak to very specific examples, but I'll give a few just as a means of not avoiding the question. Things like focusing one's attention on breathing, on a particular thought, experience, part of your body. And all of this, I think, these are examples of narrowing the scope of your attention to one thing at a time. And, another term that's used for meditation is mindfulness. And I think even more broadly, the goal is to increase the degree to which you consciously control your own thoughts, which I find very interesting because my background is, part of my background is that I've suffered for many years from major depression. And I've been reading recently a book by Dr. David Burns, which is regarded as the gold standard of self-help books relating to depression. And his whole premise is that depression is the result of distortions in one's thinking, and that in altering the way in which you think, you can resolve depression at least to a significant extent. And this ties right into meditation, which again emphasizes conscious control of thinking, with all of these, once again, being examples. Something like, if you are able to focus on your breathing and you're able to increase the degree to which you can do that over time, then when you go and desire to focus on driving, writing an email, reading, etc., that carries over. So I think that actually speaks to the second question, which is that of what I perceive the benefits as being. More than anything, it's been, I feel that I'm much more in control of what it is I think. Like, I'm able to redirect my thoughts in a way that I don't think I could have even comprehended prior to meditating, prior to it being something that I did consistently. And it's really an interesting experience, and one that is very difficult to describe, in that in the past, and for another piece of context about me, I have very severe ADD. I know that there's a major controversy as to whether or not this is a real thing. Major, I think, among lay people. Among experts to whom I've spoken about it, there's very little controversy, but there's a thought that drug companies have made up ADD. They really just want to make a shitload of money off of psychostimulants, which I imagine is true, but that doesn't mean that the disease isn't present. And in my case, I've had testing done where it's been demonstrated that my kind of higher level reasoning abilities are very good, and my attentional capacity is relatively extremely poor. And the result has been that I've struggled with attention really forever. And what that has meant in practice is I will be doing something, and then there's kind of a whole nother set of thinking that's going on over here. And oftentimes this is most of what's happening in my brain and that I'm aware of, and whatever it is I'm trying to do really just doesn't happen in the way it would if I were to direct all of what I'm able, like all of my brain capacity toward that. And although I think that will always be present to some extent, I think it's just part of who I am, the fact that I'm now able to first and foremost identify that shift, I mean, that's huge, and that's something emphasized in meditation, is discerning when you're even becoming distracted. But then being able to shift back toward that which I want to do, that has been huge. And that's been, I think, very significantly the degree to which that has been beneficial, the degree to which it's happened as a result of meditation, has been tremendously greater than the degree to which I think my depression and anxiety have been improved through meditation. But n equals 1, and I imagine that other folks would have different experiences. To speak to the question of whether or not I think other folks or people generally would benefit from it, I find this a really interesting question. If, let's create a hypothetical in which everyone were forced to do meditation, although I think that kind of skews it right from the get-go. Let's say everyone just voluntarily started meditating. I think the degree to which folks would benefit would be very much dependent on experience and the degree to which they are open-minded or skeptical to it. So my intuition is no one will be particularly effective at meditating initially, and so that just comes down to continuing to do it, practice, etc. I know I was very skeptical initially. I did benefit more than I thought early on, but I've definitely gotten much better. So I think if as a result of this video or anything else you decide to meditate, I would say if it doesn't seem to be working in the first 3 days or 3 weeks or whatever it might be, my suggestion would be really give it at least a month consistently if you can. And then if it really doesn't work, then maybe it just won't work for you. I think the other part is the skepticism or open-mindedness toward it. And I'm filming this video with my wife sitting next to me, and this is no kind of criticism of her, but I don't think she's genuinely interested in meditating, whereas I was very interested in it initially, and I've remained interested. And the result has been that when she's meditated with me, she's not benefited as much. Because, do you think it would be fair to characterize that as closed-mindedness?
Yeah.
Right, so...
No ego about it.
She said it, not me. And, that's cool too. Look, if someone, not that this is really answering the question, but if someone just thinks the whole concept is bullshit, then I probably wouldn't recommend it to them, even though I think they probably would benefit if they didn't think it was bullshit and they tried it. So, hard to answer that third question. It's going to depend on the individual. And if I had to speak like population level, my intuition is most people wouldn't feel that they benefited from it enough to continue doing it. But hey, look, if 30% of people feel like it, were to end up feeling like it benefited them enough that they would keep doing it, that would be, I think, a massive shift from what we're seeing now, which is, even though it's becoming more popular, it's still, at least my feeling initially, and I think that this is kind of reflective of the sense around me, was meditation, like, I know that people do that, but really, like, I live in the United States, I'm not like 750 years old, it just doesn't seem like something people really do. So I would be really curious to see folks try it, more people try it, and I think at least a very significant minority would benefit from it a lot. So thank you so much for your time. If you found the video valuable, please like it, comment below. Question of the day: have you ever meditated? If so, what has your experience been? If you haven't, why haven't you? I'm curious to see the quality of the responses, meaning like, I've never meditated because it just seems like bullshit. I'm really interested to see if someone says that, because it's totally your right to say that. Thanks again, and we will see you next time, whenever that is.